Tonight, uncivil discourse over health care.
The reforms I'm proposing would not apply to those who are here illegally.
The congressman apologizes but insists he's right on the issue. I'm Katie Couric. Also tonight, as the president calls again for a public option, we'll tell you the pros and cons as we provide a user's guide to health care reform. And doctors said she would never speak. And now?
Oh, say can you see?
Her amazing story tonight.
This is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric.
Good evening, everyone. The fallout continues from that extraordinary moment in the United States Congress. Presidents appearing there as respected guests have been interrupted before by boos and hisses, but this was different. A congressman last night calling a president an outright liar to his face. Just the latest indication of how ugly the debate over reforming health care has gotten. Today brought apologizing and forgiving, but so far, no one's forgetting. From Capitol Hill, here's Nancy Cordes.
This too is false.
It was the shout heard round the world.
The reforms I'm proposing would not apply to those who are here illegally.
2 words, you lie, bellowed by 62-year-old Republican Representative Joe Wilson of South Carolina as the president defended his health care plan. Watch Speaker Pelosi behind the president, visibly startled by what both parties agreed
It's not true.
was an unprecedented breach of protocol.
I've never seen that kind of outburst on the floor from a member towards the President of the United States.
Within hours, Wilson's website had crashed, his opponent had raised hundreds of thousands of dollars, and his GOP colleagues had pushed him to apologize.
Last night, I heard from the leadership that they wanted me to contact the White House and state that my statements were inappropriate.
Catcalls may be common in parliaments overseas.
They have been wrong, and wrong.
But in the U.S. Congress, the rules preclude all but the occasional boo.
If steps are not taken to avert that
or hiss
let us
in the presence of the president.
We all do need to dedicate ourselves to working in a civil manner.
This wasn't the first time Wilson let politics get personal. In 2002, he went ballistic on Democratic Congressman Bob Filner in a C-SPAN exchange about Iraq.
And for you to say that is just a hatred of America, just a hatred, that's what it is, a visceral hatred.
Today, Wilson told reporters outside his office that his attack on the president just slipped out.
I will tell you this, that it was spontaneous.
The former military attorney stands by what he said, but regrets where he said it. Constituents in his conservative district agree.
It's completely out of line.
Mr. Obama accepted Wilson's apology.
I'm a big believer that we all make mistakes.
Wilson wasn't the only Republican in a defiant mood last night. Some waved copies of GOP health care proposals. One even held up protest signs he had scribbled on the spot.
I think what we're talking about here, though, is the emergence of an extremely militant brand of conservatism that really does see Obama as, in contrast, say, to Bill Clinton and Jimmy Carter, much more committed to a progressive or left agenda.
Ironically, Wilson's disruption came just 10 minutes after the president had called for a more civil discourse on health care reform. Nancy Cordes, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Now, in case the president's message last night got drowned out by the controversy over the shouting, he repeated it today for emphasis. He said the issue of health care reform has been, quote, talked to death, and now it's time to act. Here's Chip Reed.
Eager to seize the momentum after his primetime speech, the president gave an encore today to a room full of nurses. And as he did last night, went out of his way to downplay the importance of the public option.
It would just be one option among many. No one would be forced to choose it.
The president is showing the way forward, according to Senator Max Baucus.
The president's speech kind of breathed new life into what we're doing, because this is basically what what that proposal is.
For months, Baucus has been working on a bipartisan plan that would offer coverage to the uninsured through private cooperatives instead of a government option. Last night, the president said he's open to that idea. In addition, both the president's and Baucus's plans are more fiscally conservative than the other Democratic plans, limiting the cost of reform to $900 billion and requiring, with real budget enforcement tools, that the plan not add to the deficit.
We're very close to being in sync here.
Even Speaker Nancy Pelosi is now showing flexibility on the public option. Here she was just 2 days ago after meeting with the president.
I believe that a public option will be essential to our passing a bill.
Today, a very different tone.
I don't think you ever really go into a negotiation and say there's some things that are non-negotiable.
That's an encouraging signal to more than 24 conservative House Democrats who've threatened to vote against reform if it includes a public option. One more sign that the president's top target is now moderate Democrats. He invited more than a dozen of them to the White House today to talk about health care. One group that's feeling totally left out, conservative Republicans.
Almost all of what he had to say was aimed at Democrats.
The president said today he'll be making a full court press on health care reform from here on out, a big relief to many Democrats who've been pleading with him to take charge. Chip Reed, CBS News, the White House.
Now, the public option has been the most contentious issue in this debate. There's a lot of confusion about what it might mean and how it would work. So tonight, we give you the pros and the cons in a user's guide to health care. First, here's Kelly Kobeyea.
Marsha Wagshall and her husband say they need help. They run a small accounting firm, yet there's one figure Marsha can't get her head around.
I pay $2,000 a month for health insurance for myself, my husband, and my 2 sons. And when I tell people that, they just don't believe me.
That's 1/4 of the family income. Why so high? They're small business owners. They're both in their 50s.
This is my son, Corey.
And they have a son with a chronic illness. 3 factors that put affordable insurance out of reach. The problem is they don't have many options. In Florida, 2 private companies control almost half the market.
I can't afford to hire a full-time employee because I'm paying $24,000 a year for health insurance. That's a salary.
Is this your most recent bill?
This is my bill.
And they say the cost jumps 30 to 40% each year.
If we keep going the way we're going to go bankrupt.
Wagshall and her friends campaigned for President Obama. They all believe the only solution to rising costs is a public option, a government-run, non-profit health insurance provider. Is the public option the only way to get there?
I think it's the only way to compete and to really, truly bring costs down.
I'm not the first president to take up this cause, but I am determined to be the last.
Kelly Kobeyea, CBS News, Wellington, Florida.
This is Mark Strassman in Tennessee, a state that saw a need and started a public option called TennCare back in 1994. Tangela Henderson's family,
it gives me a great peace of mind,
was one of the reasons why. At her income, TennCare is their only option. TennCare added coverage for 500,000 uninsured Tennesseans. But costs exploded, tripling in 10 years to $8.5 billion, becoming 1/3 of Tennessee's annual budget.
TennCare is a cautionary tale for us all. TennCare's lesson is control costs, control costs, control costs.
TennCare served the poorest and sickest, but the problem was that it paid providers less than the cost of services. And many people dumped private plans for the cheaper TennCare premiums. Some healthcare providers losing money bailed out of TennCare, so the state agreed to cover the losses of remaining providers, which drove its costs even higher. By 2004, the state faced insolvency. The solution? Slash coverage for nearly 200,000 people. Tennessee Representative Phil Rowe, also an obstetrician, says TennCare proved health care should be left to the free market.
Then what happened to the government-backed plan? It couldn't pay for what it promised.
At its peak, TennCare helped cover 94% of people here, but nearly put the state on financial life support, a reason many here will never trust any government option again. Mark Strassman, CBS News, Nashville.
As the debate goes on over insuring the uninsured, their numbers are growing. A new report today from the Census Bureau puts the figure at 46.3 million, an increase of more than 500,000. And could the insurance companies do more to solve the problem? Anthony Mason continues our user's guide to healthcare.
In the heated debate over healthcare reform,
We will hold the insurance companies accountable.
the insurance companies have been made the villains.
There is no business in America that makes more money than the insurance industry.
The reality? That's simply not true. The health insurance companies made $11 billion in profits in 2008, but other medical industries made far more. The top 5 drug companies, for example, made $35 billion.
In fact, overall, health insurance ranks as only the 86th most profitable industry in the country, earning little more than 3 cents profit on every dollar.
The insurance companies are not the major drivers of cost inflation.
But they have been fairly targeted for denying coverage.
More and more Americans worry that if you move, lose your job, or change your job, you'll lose your health insurance too.
The insurers are aggressively fighting a so-called public option because they're afraid government competition will put them out of business. But Karen Ignani says the industry has offered its own remedy that would insure everyone.
No one would be discriminated against for a pre-existing condition. Everyone would get health care.
Insurers would guarantee coverage for the poorest and the sickest, provided everyone, especially the young and healthy, is required to take out coverage.
If you provide incentives for people not to participate or wait only until the house is on fire before they purchase insurance, then what you're doing is increasing the cost substantially for people who are in the system.
Spreading the cost like that could save as much as $1,000 a year per family.
Because the premiums paid by the healthier people are used to pay for the care incurred by the sicker people.
But it's a solution that only works if everyone pays. Anthony Mason, CBS News, New York.
And this health note tonight, federal researchers now say you'll only need 1 vaccine shot for the H1N1 flu virus. Earlier, they were saying you might need 2. The vaccine is expected to be ready by mid-October. And still ahead here on the CBS Evening News, the 2nd grader who sings at sold-out arenas. You think that's impressive? Wait till you hear the rest of her story. But up next, more Americans fall into poverty, and the latest numbers may not tell the depth of the problem. The poverty rate in this country is rising. The government said today it's now 13.2%, up from 12.5% and an 11-year high. 40 million Americans living below the poverty line. For a family of 4, that's $22,000 a year. Randall Pinkston shows us the stark reality behind the numbers.
46 inches. Have a great day.
In Western Mississippi, Denise Guidry's life is upside down. Once a stay-at-home mom, she's now struggling to pay the bills after her husband lost his job paying 6 figures as a pipeline worker.
My husband lost his job in March, and I tried to take up the slack, which is very hard. I'm working 3 jobs, and I can't make it.
Trying to avoid foreclosure, they are renting out their 5-bedroom home and living in an RV with 5 children.
What for you has been the most difficult part of this new adjustment?
Being away from them.
From your children?
Eric Hill moved last year from North Carolina to New York, thinking he could find work as a bricklayer.
I'm sure everyone has an ambition to have something in life and to be able to support themselves.
But his dream went nowhere, sending Hill and his family of 5 into shelters and soup kitchens. 2 families, 2 examples of the newest members of America's poor. 2.5 million more than 2007. That means 1 out of every 7 Americans is struggling. The hardest hit? Married couples with families. 500,000 households plunged into poverty.
More and more families simply don't have enough income from work.
The way poverty is measured was devised over 50 years ago, based mostly on the cost of food. It did not include modern expenses such as transportation, housing, childcare, and medical costs.
We've had to get Medicaid, we've had to, things that we didn't have to live on.
The new poverty numbers do not reflect the downturn of 2009, when unemployment reached almost 10%. That means there's worse news to come. Randall Pinkston, CBS News, Wesson, Mississippi.
And when we come back, the financial meltdown. Would things have been different if more women had been in charge? Women have long been outsiders on Wall Street. They hold less than 18% of senior positions at financial firms, and less than 10% of mutual fund managers are female. And as Kelly Wallace reports, some experts believe the shortage of women in key positions contributed to last year's financial meltdown.
Investor and philanthropist Jackie Zehner knows a thing or two about money.
Hi, Jackie Zehner.
In 1996, she became a Goldman Sachs partner, the youngest woman at the time to do so. Now, retired after a 14-year Wall Street career, she's on a mission.
If there had been a critical mass of women over a period of time at the decision-making tables, would we be in the place that we are in today? And I don't think so.
The economic meltdown might not have been as severe, she says, if more women were in the executive suites on Wall Street. Quoting a post-meltdown refrain, if instead of Lehman Brothers, it were Lehman Brothers and sisters.
I think we think about risk differently. I think we're more risk measured. We're saying, look at the numbers. Look at the evidence.
The evidence? A recent report which showed that while all hedge funds had an annual return of almost 6%, hedge funds run by women did better with a return of 9%. And during the downturn last year, while all funds dropped 19%, funds run by women went down just below 10%.
Women tend to collaborate. They tend to pool information together in ways different from the way men operate.
In fact, scientific studies have found that men take more risks in response to peer pressure than women, and that there is a direct link between increased testosterone and a willingness to take risks.
Are you checking me? Are you asking me for training?
When they get into tough situations, their testosterone rises, and they do become much more competitive and less aware of risk.
That's why at Pax World Mutual Funds in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, 3 of the firm's 6 portfolio managers are women.
I do think that when women are at the table, there's a richer discussion on issues like risk, and that you make better decisions because of their input.
It's not just the right thing to do anymore just because it's the right thing. It's the right business thing to do.
Zehner hopes more companies realize more women equals more money. Kelly Wallace, CBS News, New York.
And finally tonight, imagine singing the national anthem in front of 20,000 people. Pretty scary, right? But not for one young girl. In fact, as Michelle Miller tells us, singing has changed her life.
Please rise and join.
It's only a few steps to center court at the U.S. Open.
Oh, say can you see?
But getting here
Dawn's early light
has been a long, incredible journey for 7-year-old Gina Incandela. Gina's trials began at 2. When she still wasn't talking, her parents got a disturbing prognosis.
He said, I don't know that she ever is going to speak.
Diagnosed with a form of autism, Gina began intensive speech therapy.
And listen to how my voice changes.
Progress was slow until music unlocked the development door.
All the way up.
Gina's schoolwork and social skills improved, and it turned out this challenged child had a remarkable gift.
She would sing it in perfect pitch and perfect key.
One day, 5-year-old Gina heard the national anthem on TV and insisted she wanted to sing it at a spring training baseball game. And without a single voice lesson, that's exactly what she did.
What a
What is it
like when you get up there on stage?
It's really amazing, and it's kind of awesome out there.
Audiences loved her, and the once silent Gina was in demand, belting it out at hockey arenas, ballparks, conventions, and home games of the Orlando Magic. She became the team's good luck charm, singing at 9 playoff games, including 3 in the NBA Finals.
What's the hardest part? I mean, is there a hard part?
Nope, it's a piece of cake.
Gina's challenges aren't over, but like the anthem, that's all about a long, arduous battle. Gina's proving she's up to the fight. Michelle Miller, CBS News, Orlando.
How cute is she? And that is the CBS Evening News for tonight. I'm Katie Couric. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.